what's up, everyone? Welcome to the discussion. I'm Nick Dennis, and I'm here with Dexter Jenkins.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
yes,
for
sir.
joining me, man.
Yes, sir. You already know, Nick.
People also know you as Coach Dex as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
yes,
we're
sir.
actually located in Charlotte. And before you got to Charlotte, you're from Milwaukee. So tell us a little bit about that.
Man, Milwaukee, born and raised. Actually lived there for 17 years of my life. Very small town. Most people know Milwaukee from the Bucks. Other than that, very small city that a lot of people don't know a lot of people from. But it definitely raised me and made me who I am today.
So do you often go back to Milwaukee, or you just kind of been in Charlotte for a minute and you just been here,
I take occasional trips like back and forth with the family and stuff like that. But I would say that Milwaukee has a lot of good parts of it and a lot of bad parts. So I found my passion in Charlotte. So I like to spend a lot of time here, man, working on things that I'm good at here. I do go back and forth every once in a while. But for the most part, man, I'm doing a lot of stuff in Charlotte.
Where you found that passion at. So let's dive a little bit deeper into Charlotte. So you moved from Milwaukee to Charlotte, and then what's next?
The first year, man, really we moved here just looking for a new start. Like I said, some good parts about Milwaukee, some bad parts. So some of the bad parts is a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, just a lot of negative things going on in Milwaukee for the most part. So came down here just try to get a different, perspective, different viewpoint on life. So I would say the first 2 years I spent just, getting accustomed to the city, building relationships with people, trying to figure out what's going on because I'm new. So for the most part, man, I spent the first 2 years just getting to know people. I went to community college here at CPCC, got a job here at Carolina Courts that a lot of people might know about, which is like a sports complex. But for the first 2 years, man, I just spent a lot of time networking, building relationships, getting to know the city, getting to know the people. And that's kind of it.
That's dope. That's dope. And it's funny you say that, man, because I remember when I first moved to Charlotte, you were literally one of the first people that I met.
I remember that.
It's funny. I'll tell. I was going to say this story for later, but I'll just go ahead and tell it.
Let's go.
I first moved to Charlotte. I'm covering the game. I'm doing my thing. I think I'm doing my thing. And I need a ride home. No, I need a ride home. I think I'm 19. I think I'm 18 or 19 years old. And I got a ride there. Didn't know how I was getting back because at that age, that's just how I moved. And you can probably relate. When you're younger, you just kind of move different.
That's true, yeah.
And I'm like, yo, this dude next to me is like, he seems pretty cool. Like, we chomping it up. Because we both baseline filming a basketball game. I was like, Dex, can I get a ride home, man? Like, I never know, like, how you actually felt about that. Like, real quick, can you dive into, like, your first impression of me?
Man, I'm going to be honest. I've always been a very selfish person.
That's true.
I've always enjoyed helping other people. So it's one of those things when you ask me, we already had a mutual relationship because we're sitting right next to each other.
Right.
And I just looked at it like, if this dude, is bold enough to ask me for a ride, then like, he probably needs it,
Yeah.
So
I was bold. Yeah, I was bold. And I'll save the rest for later because people probably wondering, like, all right, I'm 22 now. This was 19 when I asked you for a ride. So how are we here now when I'm interviewing you, right?
It's interesting. A lot of things happen in between.
A lot of things happen in between. So going back so now you moved from Milwaukee to Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Where did Coach Dex come from? Where did your love of training come from?
I think first, just to kind of backtrack just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I grew up playing basketball, played on a high school team, went to Northern Michigan University, which is a D2 school. I played for about half a semester, and I kind of lost the love of it, man. I don't know if it was a mix between figuring out that I wasn't going to go to the NBA, from the disappointment from not going D1, and then now moving away from home and now going through different political things at my school. I think that when I moved back to Milwaukee, I kind of lost the love for it. So, long story short, when I moved to Charlotte, I was more of like, I had a love-hate relationship with basketball where like I loved basketball, but because it had put me through so much, it was kind of like I was avoiding it, almost. But where I got Coach Dex from is when I started working at the Sportsplex, Carolina Courts.
Right.
I actually started training. And I actually never thought about training or anything like that because in Milwaukee, it's not really an avenue for that, But when I moved to the hoop state, I really realized that things were a lot different here, and it was a bigger market of kids, bigger market of people. People took sports a lot more serious. So it was actually like it just happened randomly. I was sitting behind a desk one day and there was a lot of trainers and coaches there. And I was doing administration, but I was a basketball guy. So I knew that I knew basketball. So that's kind of how it birthed it. I never knew it would get this big for me, honestly speaking. I just always been passionate. I always worked hard, and I always, put my best foot forward. I know my reputation is everything. So that's kind of how Coach Dex came about, man. Just sitting behind the desk one day, looking at everybody coaching. I'm like, man, I can do this, So as weird as it sounds, man, it was like a coincidence almost.
Man, I can do this. Like, man, you one of the best trainers here in Charlotte. Like, that's crazy.
Appreciate that, man.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, like you moved here and then like you worked at a gym. It's kind of like a job, like a regular job,
It
like
is.
you're doing maintenance things.
Yep.
You're not really
Yep.
looking to like get into sports. You're
So funny story about that. I used to work at Olive Garden and I worked at Carolina Courts. So yeah, when I joined Carolina Courts, I was doing administration, which means I was doing like registration, and I also was cleaning bathrooms and picking up trash. And if you ever been to any of these big events, it's a lot of bleachers and stuff like that.
a lot of empty Gatorade bottles.
Yes, a lot of like things spill and things like that. But I know we could touch on that later. But that also played a role into me creating Skill Boost Academy, which is my own training brand and my own training program. That kind of goes into it. But I know we can kind of talk about that a little later.
And it's funny to hear you say a love-hate relationship, man, because, and let me know if I'm mistaken, but basketball didn't originally get you to where you wanted it to get you to. So that's why you had a hate for it.
Yeah.
But that's the same reason why you're so good at what you do.
That is true.
And I've been with you. I've been with you while you're training and stuff, and basically working. And I really think that's what gives you the edge is that you're training these kids to have this goal. And let's just be honest, some kids you train don't want to go to the NBA or WNBA. Their parents just want them to be active.
That's true.
But most kids want to go to the NBA.
And I would say, man, that was something I maybe didn't understand fully when I was growing up. I didn't understand that only 1% of the people that play basketball play professionally. I see somebody like Allen Iverson. He's short. He looks like me. He can score. That's me. Nobody can tell me anything different. And I think that that's a reality that a lot of young players have. And anybody that has that passion, I'm here to, fuel that.
Fuel it.
Regardless of if you're going to make it to the highest level of basketball, I think it's about enjoying the process, working hard, learning how to get better, learning how to work with other people, learning how to deal with adversity, because there's going to be a lot of losses in life. There's going to be a lot of wins, and all of those things through the game of basketball can be taught, So that's really why I'm passionate about it, is because all of these character traits, all of these life lessons can be taught through the game, So I think there's a bigger thing that needs to be said for basketball outside of just the sport, There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of chemistry, not only on the court with the kids, but people don't see a lot of parents build relationship with each other. A lot of families become extended families from people just playing on a team or training within the program with somebody else. So, man, that's really my passion, man.
And I see right now you have the Skill Boost hoodie on right now.
Yes, sir.
So what actually came first? All right. So right now you're starting to train. What came first before we get into it? The filming or training or Skill Boost?
I would say that the basketball training came first. I definitely started out at Carolina Courts doing private sessions, doing small groups and things like that, doing clinics. I definitely had my first film job at Carolina Courts. So imagine showing up to work and your boss is like, hey, you here? You didn't clock in. And I'm like, well, I'm doing a different job today. So it was a good feeling because,
flex.
Yeah. So, but I would say that I loved doing what I did at Carolina Courts, but I would say that I signed up to be a basketball personnel. So when it became more about me cleaning and doing maintenance and things like that, I kind of shied away from it, but I didn't have any other options. So I met a guy named Bryce who actually started Elite Mixtapes, and he said, yo, you want to come to this event? It's called Scouts Focus. You can come here and make some extra money. You can film. And my biggest thing was I can get paid to watch somebody play basketball.
Right.
No problem. I didn't know anything about filming, never picked up a camera. And at this time, never thought about training, never thought about filming. So all these things are new to me. but I just always been like adventurous. Like, all right, if it's associated with basketball, I'll do it.
Okay, so because this is crazy. I've known you for like three years, and I didn't know that's how it started. I actually never asked you how did it start.
Yep.
So it's so crazy that both of them kind of came around the same time.
They did, man. They did, and I would say that Skill Boost Academy came together a little bit later, but it came from me working at Carolina Course, and talking to ownership, trying to get things adjusted, things that because I always see myself as a people person. I'm out there on the field, I'm out there on the court, I'm out there in people's neighborhood, I'm out there at the tournaments. So people are talking to me, they're engaging with me, and they're telling me what they like, what they don't like. They're telling me this trainer does this coach does this. If you just do this, you can have your own lane. So I started bringing those same ideas to ownership, and they were kind of resistant to it. And at the time I was young, I was 20, 21.
I was gonna say, how old were you?
I was probably 20, 21. And
at this time.
Yeah, and what made it, a little bad is that because I was young and ownership probably was double my age, a lot of them doubted the things or the ideas that I was expressing them. They didn't think they were good ideas. So that's kind of where I came to the idea of like, yeah, this is a great platform. This helped me get to where I'm at. This was a good stepping stone. But at the same time, maybe there's something bigger here. Like maybe I need to step out on my own and maybe try to do something on my own.
Let me ask you, what year was this? Do you know? When you were 2021, what year was this?
I probably was 20. Now looking back on it, I probably was 22, and this was like 2014.
14.
Like 2015.
Because I want to say this was actually pre-entrepreneur.
It was.
It was
I
like
social
social media and entrepreneurship was just starting to kind of like build up.
Yep.
And I can kind of see why they had that old school approach. Like, who's this young guy? Now, if someone was kind of doing now, it's like, yeah, go young guy.
That's very true.
Entrepreneur, 22 years old.
That's very true.
2014, 2015 is like, nah, like,
you
don't know what you're doing.
So I would say, man, it's so weird because when I met Bryce, who created Lee Mixtapes, he was not getting even paid off his YouTube. So literally his first suggestion or his first offer was me like, yo, can you just help me film for free? And if this thing blows up or if we get some viral videos or get more subscribers, then like I can pay you. But essentially, man, like when I met Bryce, he was just a hustler. Like literally wasn't making money off YouTube, moved out his house from his parents, moved to Charlotte, a whole new city, and he really was an introduction to showing me that you can be young and ambitious, because every young person I met didn't have that mindset.
No, especially during this time too.
Yep.
During this time too. All right, so now you're training, you're starting to pick up that camera. Let's get into the nitty gritty. Like, let's dive in deep into when things start rolling for both of you guys. Now that you're on board with Elite and you're also training as well. When was that first like, all right, we're getting on to something now?
Man, I would say we used to take a lot of trips to Oak Hill. Right, so Oak Hill Academy is a prep school here. I would say it's not in North Carolina, but it's right on the border of North Carolina. It's in the mouth of Wilson, so it's in Virginia. We used to take a lot of trips there, and if anybody knows anything about Oak Hill, they had players like Rajon Rondo, Carmelo Anthony. So this is a school that had a lot of big time players.
KD didn't go there, did he?
I think KD did go there for like a semester or something like that. But I would say, he had a business idea. He just didn't have anybody to help him with it. And I think that when I came around, it was like the perfect mix of like, now I got somebody to help me out. So I would say from the jump, it started, building up and growing and getting bigger and bigger. And I actually put basketball training to the side for a little bit. Just because I was focusing on filming so much, I seen the potential in it. And I was still working at Carolina Courts, so I didn't really have the mindset of, I'm gonna go full head. Yeah, because I didn't think that was an option for me at the time because everything I was doing was for this company,
Right.
So I would say that it started rolling right away. We started building up traction. We got to a point where we were making money, and this says something about Bryce's character. He actually started paying me before he started paying himself. So any of my entrepreneurs out there, it's something to be said about investing in yourself and investing in help before you even pay yourself, because longevity, you pay people to help you out, and you benefit on the opposite side. But I would say, man, that they showed me a lot about Bryce's character, not only being ambitious, not only like betting on himself, trusting himself, believing in his own vision, but to give me his funding or give me, the hard-earned money that he earned for me to even help. He definitely seen the end in mind, so I always appreciate what he did. He always was honest with me. His business was always up to par, and we don't do business anymore. This is my guy, but I'm fully dedicated to Skill Boost Academy. But Bryce is still like my right-hand man. I learned so much from him. He made me believe in myself more. He made me trust in what I do, and he's just a good example, man, of an entrepreneur. He was young, straight out of high school, so. It's always just big up to my boy Bryce, man. Facts. He always looked out.
That's mad love.
Always.
When was Dick's Nationals? And after you tell me when it was it the year that Mount Vernon with Ben Simmons went?
Yes.
You were there?
Yep. Yeah, it was, man. I got a funny story about that nobody knows. So this goes to show you just more of this ambition by Bryce, and not only that, but my willingness to take a risk. So I remember him telling me, I got enough money to make it to New York, but I don't know if I have enough money to get us a hotel.
New York City.
Yes, we're gonna drive. We're gonna drive from Charlotte, North Carolina, to New York City, and we don't know if we have enough money for a hotel. But just me being a person I am, man, I've always been a loyal person. I'm ride or die. If you treat me right, then we're rocking good. We're rocking. We're together. So we took a trip up there, and I remember one of the cameras broke. We were filming on cassette tapes back then. Yeah, even then it was outdated because people were filming on cars, but we were new, and like I said, we didn't let any excuse stop us from making progress. So I didn't say I don't have a new camera, I'm not going, or we don't have enough money for the hotel, I'm not going, or we don't know if it's gonna work. It just always been like, yo, let's make it work.
You went all in.
Take a risk, man. We didn't know what was on the other side, but we knew that we put in enough work, something good is gonna happen.
So would you look back and say that was the moment? Like that was the moment, like when we both took that jump.
I would say it was, man, but I would say that he was ahead of me. He already knew I'm going to take this risk. He just needed to see if somebody would be with him.
So can we know did y'all get the hotel?
We did. We slept in the car, and we actually
y'all slept in the car.
Yeah, it wasn't the first time. We definitely slept in the car, and we definitely got a ticket. Because we left the car, if anybody knows about New York parking situation is hectic. So we actually left the car there to go and film, and literally got like a ticket on the car. So we ended up not having enough money for the hotel, and then being on the way back, we had to realize how we're gonna make money to pay the ticket. So so it's an interesting situation, man. But,
that's funny. Okay, so all right, you're filming for Elite, and let's just say a year or two past Dick's Nationals in New York, you guys have a little bit more. You guys are a little bit more financially stable. Mm-hmm. Where is Skill Boost at the time, and when did you know? All right, I'm actually going to start focusing on training and coaching more now. So
I would say in between that time, I actually I was working at Carolina Courts, and then we had another staff meeting where the guy I walked up. Our boss was a pilot. I walked up to him and I asked him, hey, can we do such and such? I don't know our exact conversation. And I remember him saying, there's a chain of command. So you don't speak to me, you speak to such and such. And at that moment, man, I felt so demoralized, and I felt less than that another human being that I worked for didn't even think that I was important enough to speak to.
Right.
So,
because you always want to kind of go at the head. Like, you own it. And
I guess I looked at it like, maybe I'm not, in his eyes, I'm not important enough to even have a conversation with him. I need to speak through somebody else. So that really it kind of lit a fire under me, and then I remember I worked at Olive Garden, and there were similar situations where, working for somebody, I was busting, I was cleaning tables. If anybody knows about cleaning tables, it's not a fun job. You picking up Alfredo sauce, you got olive oil on your hands, you got cheese, you picking up off the ground. So a mix between having two jobs, feeling less than, somebody's telling you what to do, you picking up trash. And I just didn't see myself as like being that, So eventually I was like, you know what, man, it gotta be something else. So I actually Googled some of the gyms locally, and the gym that we're in right now, Scholar Athletics, I walked in here after Olive Garden. I still had my suit on, all my stuff. I walked in here and I told the guy, Derek Nix, he's the owner, I said, man, I will work for you for free to get out of the situation that I'm in. You know, and
That's crazy.
from his words, he told me, "Hey, you're a young black male. You remind me of myself, you know, and if you're looking for an opportunity, you got it." So literally
That's
on
crazy.
on the spot, I got this job. I quit Olive Garden, and I think I worked at Carolina Course probably for like 2 more weeks, and eventually ended up quitting both of my jobs and coming to work here.
That is crazy to me. I needed just a second. I need a second 'cause this is getting crazy. Coming up on the discussion, we take a deep dive into Dex and Elite mixtapes. Welcome back to the discussion. Don't forget to shop around at buckandbrand.com. So Dex, let's dive into Skill Boost a little bit more.
Okay.
Just tell me a little bit more about it.
So I started Skill Boost in 2017, man, and just going back to kind of what we were talking about before, I started working out here at Scholar Athletics. Derek Nix gave me a great opportunity, man, to be a trainer. At the moment, I was just trying to get away from my job, so I didn't even start Skill Boost at this time. So this is like 2016.
And you were just training.
I was just training, but it was a different level of training because I didn't have overhead. So I was in control of, hey, whatever you want to do with these kids from this time to this time, you can do it. You know, he really kind of gave me a lot of freedom when I came in. And to tell you a little bit about him, he actually had just started this business 1 year before I came, and he had done all of the training by himself. So for him, it was a big relief to have somebody come in, step in, and help. And also for me, it was a relief to have an opportunity because I was still trying to prove to myself that I was a great trainer. So
Was it the day you came in the Olive Garden uniform? Was it raining?
yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. That would have been perfect though, right?
It just seems like I'm listening to a movie right now. That's
Yeah.
why I had to ask you, was it raining?
No, it definitely would have been perfect. But I would say that he did commend that I came in here, dressed up. I was looking professional. I've always know how to communicate and, you know, articulate myself in a professional manner. So that definitely helped me. And he definitely trusted me from day one, man. Exposed me to all his clientele, you know, gave me an opportunity. Paid me, you know. I originally told him I would work for free, but he was like, "Man, you do good work. There's no way I'm not going to pay you." You know, so.
Where did you get that from? Where did you get that professionalism, that carrying yourself well? Where did you get that from? Because not everybody has that.
Man, honestly, man, I think I come from a good family, you know, and being from Milwaukee, you get a chance to see good and bad. So not only do you get a chance to see people that are successful, but you also get a chance to see people that have a bad rep, have a bad image, and they come from bad families. So I've always been very observant, and I've always understood how I wanted to be perceived, you know, and I always knew, you know, looking at people that were, you know, people that didn't carry themselves in a good way, I always looked at them and said, you know, like, that's one thing I don't want to be perceived as, you know. So I think that my perception and my reputation has always been like close to me because my family's always taught me, you know, you live for your last name. You know, it's a reason why you have a unique first name, but we all share the same last name. So that was a big thing growing up. Like when you go out this house, you represent us.
Us, not just
yourself. So that's something I was always aware of. And I just always wanted to be successful. And I just didn't see anybody successful being ignorant, you know, not being able to articulate themselves, you know. And that has always been my personality, man. I just always wanted to come off as a genuine person, you know, as a real person, but it's also show people that you can be real and smart. Because a lot of people have this concept of like real, like gangster movie, like, you know, this false reality that, you know, some of these rappers or artists that are upholding, but, you know, real is smart, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
And it's funny, like, just to add on that, like Lil Wayne, because I know he's so important in the rap game and our culture. Lil Wayne is actually smart. Like I heard that he was like in 5th grade, but he was actually like he was a 5th grader, but he actually like skipped up to like 8th grade or something like that. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
Like, but it's okay to be real and smart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I've always been smart, but I've also always been in touch with the culture. Meaning, like, I love rap music.
Yep.
Lil Wayne was one of my favorite rappers of all time.
I didn't know that.
You know, definitely, I went through a phase where he was the best rapper ever.
He was
and
good, yeah.
Nobody could tell me anything different. You know, I was young.
Yeah.
But I would say that I've always been exposed. I've always been a person of my culture, you know, and I've also had my own mistakes that I made when I was younger. You know, I always wasn't this just walking this narrow path guy. You know, I made mistakes. I did things that I'm not proud to speak about. So I think that it made me a well-versed person. You know, not only did I go to a private school, I went to a public school. Not only did I go to college, but I've also been in jail. You know, not for a long period of time, nothing too serious, but I have a well-rounded perspective because I just been through so many different things, you know.
Yeah. And so I want to ask, so around the time, so with anything that you do, I wouldn't say with anything because some people could do something and it fall off. But with you, you just keep climbing up the ranks. Things kind of get better and better. When did the clientele like pick up and the type of players you were starting to train started to get better? You know, when did that start to happen?
I would say probably about 2016, right before I started Skill Boost Academy. Me and Bryce, we started going to a lot of AAU tournaments. So if anybody knows anything about AAU, they have Adidas circuit, Nike circuit, Under Armour circuit, and a lot of the top players and the top programs from all these different states, they come together to these tournaments and they play. So me and Bryce would travel to Atlanta, Florida, Texas, wherever it was, you know, wherever the players was, we were going. So we would go there and film the guys, and this is when I realized that not only can I benefit from filming these guys, but because I'm at all of their games, I'm building a relationship with them. You know, and me being a trainer, my first thought is, why not train these guys? You know, you can film them and you can train them. So I started using the exposure that I got from Elite Mixtapes to my advantage, and I started training some of these top guys. And that brought a lot of attention, and that's when I thought, I need to build my own brand. You know, I love Skylar Athletics. This place gave me my start, you know, but I couldn't put myself in the same position that I was in Olive Garden, where I wasn't the owner, or put myself in a position where I was at Carolina Courts, where I wasn't the owner. So it was a tough thing for me, you know, breaking the news to the owner here, but he understood, you know, because he seen how passionate I was. He see I had my own following, you know, and that really kind of trajected me to the next level. But I would say that Elite Mixtapes, as it got bigger, Coach Dex got bigger because I got exposed to bigger players, which means that now you're associating these guys with me. Now I'm on the same level. You know, you're looking at a guy that's number one in the country. He's working with this guy. This guy, he's not a small fry. You know, he got to be doing something, you know, if he's able to work with this guy. So I would say that it gave me a huge advantage, and it allowed me to take a huge shortcut compared to a lot of other guys, you know.
And I would say all right, so some tough questions coming up.
Gotcha. No problem at all.
Let's dive in to talk about kind of being on the road and what that did for you mentally and how that changed you and helped you grow up. And let's dive into just doing AAU. Yeah.
I would say, man, the number one thing it taught me, kind of touching on what I talked about earlier, is Bryce, man, taking risks. He really showed me that if you want something, take a risk. This man was willing to drive 5 hours away, 6 hours away to get one game. You know, and I hadn't seen that dedication from somebody so young. So number one, it helped my mindset and showed me that if you really want something, get in the car and go. You know, that's what it takes. Number two, it also showed me competition because when I first started filming, it wasn't as many cameras. As we went on, as it got bigger, it was flooded, you know, and then it became a thing like, all right, I need to get to the room first. I need to be disciplined. I don't need to hang out or chill. I need to go to the room, put some work in, put this video out, you know, and that became a thing to me where I became competitive. At first, I was only a competitor in basketball, but filming and traveling showed me that it could be a competitor in business, you know, and I didn't have that mindset, but I realized that all of the same things that made me good in basketball could make me good in business, you know. So going on those road trips, that showed me, hey, man, you know, the same way that you had to go hard in basketball, run back on D, hey, you might have to hustle back to this room. You might have to, you know, pay attention to the details, something I did in basketball. You might have to pay attention to these editing, these clips, these, you know, how you market yourself or how you promote yourself. So that's really a big thing, man, is the road really showed me that, you know, if you want something, go and get it. Number two, it just showed me just be competitive, you know, because there was other people doing what I was doing. So I would say those are the two things it showed me the most. And it also showed me there's a lot of people in the United States doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they're taking risks as well. So it really kind of gave me an overall confidence that, yo, I'm not the only one doing this.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not just Bryce. It's not just me. There's people that think just like this all around the world. You know what I mean? And once I realized that that was doable, like, hey, people are taking risks, it kind of gave me more confidence to take risks myself. So I would say just the overall perception of, you know, just doing these things, you know, it was a good feeling, you know, being able to travel. Being from Milwaukee, you know, you can drive from the beginning of Milwaukee to the end of Milwaukee in 10 minutes. So, you know, and growing up, I went on trips with my family, but as a lot of people know, my family money isn't my money. So when I was able to travel on my own by myself, it just gave me a different sense of like accomplishment. Like, dude, I'm a young dude. I'm out here going to different states, doing work. And it was just an overall good experience, man. So it definitely fueled me.
And I remember, because people still don't know how we really got connected, and I'll get into that in a second. And I can't wait to include myself, of course. But I remember one day we were in a hotel room. We were about to film a game at EYBL, the Nike circuit. And you were like, Nick, you know this isn't normal, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I really had no idea what you're talking about. You were like, this, what we're doing right now, it just isn't normal. I just want you to know that. And it, like, I know when we were, like, hanging out, I never really, like, thought about stuff in front of you. But, like, that was on my mind the whole week. And then it just made me think, like, people from my hometown are really, like, so where you at this weekend? Like, where you at this weekend? But I started to grow accustomed to it. And then I had to realize, wait, this isn't normal. Some people actually really don't travel out of their state.
That's a fact.
Like, let alone that, they never been out of the city that they grew up in sometimes. So if you would never gave that perspective, you know, I wouldn't be so grateful for what I saw and did. But my second question was, all right, I told you some hard questions coming up. Who was the best player you filmed so far? Like, I know you trained in some like you trained Leaky Black at UNC, you trained Vader Brown at Wake Forest, and a lot of other players as well. I just know those two off the top. But who was the best player you filmed?
That's easy.
That's easy?
That's easy. Zion Williamson.
Zion
Williamson is hands down the best basketball player I've seen in the flesh. Like, yes, I went to NBA games, seen NBA players, but I'm talking about on the same court, 5 feet away, putting in work. Man.
Now, my next question would be, so I read something in Forbes. It was saying, like, how Elite kind of filmed him from, like, Spartanburg, like, from his high school days. And I know, just knowing you personally, like, you had a lot to do with that. Can you kind of dive into when you first filmed Zion, because he blew up on the Elite Mixtapes Network, and a lot of other ones came after, but Elite was really the first.
Man, so really with that story, man, so as you guys, as I spoke about earlier, going to these tournaments, I was actually in a tournament in Sewanee, which is in Georgia. And I was at an Adidas tournament. He played for Game Elite, I believe. And I was filming a court. Let's say this is the court. I was filming the court behind him. And I just ended up turning my head around, kind of like looked back, and I seen him catch like an alley.
Was anybody filming that court?
No. Nobody was filming this court. I had never heard about this guy.
Interesting.
And before we went to tournaments, me and Bryce would come up with a list. So we look at all of the teams that was there, come up with a list. These are the 5 players we need to focus on. He was not on that list.
And I want to highlight that for the people that's going to watch this. These filmers make lists.
Yeah.
Like, so
there's research going on to this.
There's research. So it's not like they're just going to a gym and, like, let's just find out. So you got to, for the young players watching this, like, you got to make noise.
Yeah.
If you want these big-time companies to film, because there are lists being made before we go to a gym.
And one powerful thing about that is there is lists being made, but lists can also be altered. People can be added, and people can be subtracted, because you see somebody you like, they might take the spot of somebody that I originally wanted to film, and that kind of goes back to where Zion. Once he made that dunk and I kind of looked back, I started kind of focusing on his court, and then he did like this amazing dunk where he dunked on the kid. The kid fell on his back and was acting like he was asleep like this.
Yeah, I remember that one. Remember that one.
So
he was like almost like he was playing dead.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. So when that situation happened, man,
that one went viral.
Yeah, that opened my eyes. I called Bryce instantly and said, "Brother, we not filming nobody else but this person for the rest of the weekend." And we didn't know we'd be filming him for 3 years straight. But I just knew that, like, that was impressive. There's nobody else that has shown me anything like that this whole weekend. I'm filming this guy. So I would say that Zion Williamson is probably the best player that I filmed in my eyes. And a second would be probably Dennis Smith Jr. He was a really great player that I filmed as well.
Right. And he's with the Knicks right now.
Yep.
Still waiting for him to pan out. Still early. Going through some things off the court, but you know, that's just how those things go. And like I said, I wanted to now interject myself into the situation. I remember when I first met you guys, and you guys were like, "Wait, you'll see these guys. You start filming, they'll be the next guys in the NBA. They'll be the ones." I'm like, "Wait, get out of here," because at this time, Ben Simmons was who you filmed in New York.
Yep.
At this time, when I met you, Ben Simmons was already on the 76ers. So I just want to say that for the viewers to get them to like, y'all know, you know what I mean?
You know, yeah.
Trae Young at this time I think is still at Oklahoma, but he's getting ready to be a top.
He's getting there, yep. And
I met y'all.
Michael Porter as well. Michael Porter.
Yep.
I filmed Malik Monk, Jason Tatum.
All before I really met you guys.
Yep. Rajon Tucker. He's in the league now. Devon Dotson. He's in the league now.
Yep. On the Bulls.
Man, it's
Patrick Williams,
Markelle Fultz, Thon Maker. I mean, bro, the list goes on. There's so many people I probably couldn't even name all of them. Yeah. Honestly. But
I remember you going to Virginia before I even met you, just from seeing on your social media the Under Armour camp. You know which one? At the University of Virginia.
I know you're talking about, yes, the NBA Top 100.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, in that camp alone,
that's
everybody.
Everybody.
But I am blessed, man, to be a part of League Mixtapes because a lot of the buildings and tournaments I got into, they were sold out or it just wasn't even allowed. Like NBA Top 100, no fans can come. Yeah. It's only media and coaches. So I really got an insight that a lot of people didn't get. You know, so having that media pass allowed me to get into NBA Top 100. We went to tournaments such as Peace Jam, which is the biggest tournament in the country. You know, when it comes to AAU, every year they got hundreds of coaches there, Division I, just sitting courtside. A lot of these games got sold out early. Having that media pass allowed me to skip the entire line, no wait, go right underneath the basket, and then be locked in with the same guys that Roy Williams is sitting right next to me, or Coach K.
You notice, you said or Coach K. One year you brought me there, I talked to Coach K.
I believe that.
Yeah, I told you, I was like, hey, you know I talked to Coach K, right? Because you were filming another game. And I was like, I spoke to Coach K.
That's crazy. So I'll tell you a funny story about that. The first year I seen Roy Williams, and I was extremely nervous to talk to him. But it shows you that not only one, my age, but two, I was starstruck. I just was like, yo, that's a big time coach standing right there. And I remember I took a picture of him. I took a picture with him. And I didn't get the courage until I seen somebody else do it. Right. Somebody else grabbed him, and I was like, I got to get him. You know? But looking back on it, man, it just showed me that I've come a long way, you know, and I never thought that I'd be where I'm at looking back on it. You know, I just seen I seen myself as a kid from Milwaukee. Didn't come from a bad family, but I also don't come from a wealthy family. You know what I mean? So yes, I had good experiences, I had a great life, but I wasn't exposed to the finer things. And I think that filming was just the beginning of that, showing me like there's more out there than, you know, what your hometown has to provide. And it really kind of just gave me confidence. I would say that's the biggest thing. It just gave me confidence and belief that there's more that I can do.
And we don't see these things. We don't see Roy and Coach K we see him on TV. Yep. And most people will, and that's all. We don't see him, so it's not normal. And I just want to go ahead and get this out the way. So I moved to Charlotte. Young kid just moved to Charlotte, trying to look for an opportunity. Met you at a gym. I was already filming. I was one of those young guys trying to take the lead, film. You know, I saw what was going on. These players. I met you. I get down with you and Bryce. You guys take me under your wing. I learned so much from you guys. You guys take me on the road with you. Basically giving me the game. I remember stopping at a rest stop. I stole your car, being childish. I stole your car and peeking around. Oh my God. Did you really think I left though?
I didn't think you left, but it was like a weird thing where like I was like, did somebody else take the car? And like you went to the bathroom, or like I don't know what happened.
Right.
So it was just funny. It was funny.
I want you to briefly speak on, because now we've gone through the interview and you've grown up to where I'm in the scene now, and you kind of taking me under your wing, teaching me. You taking me to games with you. I'm helping you at Skylar Athletics. Mm-hmm. I'm catching rebounds for you. I never got to ask you this. What was your insight on kind of giving somebody younger the game? Like, hey, this is how you film. This is how you have to get back to the hotel room. This is how you want to edit it. this is how you want to talk to parents. This is how you want to shake their hands. What was that like for
Man, I would say that it goes back to my childhood. So I know I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but I remember this is very vivid. I was the only child growing up, and people would say, my mom would say, "You not the boss of everybody," because I would try to boss people around. I would tell, "Hey, you need to do this, you need to do that." So not realizing that I've always had this this leadership role about myself where I was always telling people what to do. And I don't know if that's because I was the only child, so I was bossy, but I've always been a teacher, so even growing up, 6th grade, I'm the only kid on my block with a basketball court. So I'm literally taking all of the kids from my block and putting them through drills. I didn't know what I was doing back then, but I would pull the garbage can out. Hey, let's do some drills. Never been a trainer, never been a coach, anything like that. So I think it goes back to just how I was raised, and my mom is a great teacher. Not an actual literal teacher, but a teacher of life. She was able to teach me a lot of different lessons, and I think that's where it started, man. And I think that when I got with Bryce, he took me under his wing, showed me a lot of things. So when I met you, it's more of those things like, well, you want to learn, it's going to benefit me, it's going to benefit you, why not help? So that's kind of always my personality. I've always, like I said earlier, always been a helper, always been a teacher, just kind of didn't know that I would be putting these things together and how I would use them in the future. But honestly, man, you might have looked at me as a blessing, but anytime help comes in my life, man, it's a blessing as well. So I appreciate you, everything you did, and I think it was meant for us to meet. It was meant for you to assist with whatever I had going on, and it was meant for me to pass down whatever knowledge I had, because what's the use of it if I'm the only one with it? So I've always been selfless, never been selfish, and always looked at it like the smarter you are, the more informed you are, the more you can help me, the more we both going to benefit, and even if you don't help me, then it feels good to know that you're more well off because of some of the things I might show you.
That's love.
So
yeah, that's love.
You already know.
So that's how we got here, sitting here. From that ride home, we stayed in touch. All right, so you talked about elite mixtapes and skill boosts, and ironically, you talked about being out at EYBL and seeing the coaches. Mm-hmm. But now you're actually a coach. You coach for Team CP3. Yep. That's Chris Paul's team, a well-known NBA player. How is that, and how did you get into that?
CP3 actually started with Skill Boost Academy and Elite Mixtapes. So I know the director for CP3, not Chris Paul himself, but the guy that's in charge of running all of the AAU teams from 3rd through 6th grade. I met him, and he was interested in my filming ability. So I started filming some of his AAU teams. They were actually, let me go back just a little bit. Mm-hmm. It wasn't called Chris Paul CP3, it's actually called the Carolina Stars. So I used to film a team called the Carolina Stars that had all of the best players in the state on it at a young age. I filmed them for 1 or 2 years, and then they did a merger with Chris Paul's organization. So they became CP3. So my relationship started from a film aspect, but as you know, I was using my video platform to insert myself as a trainer. So once I built a relationship with them, I got invited out to a training camp where I could train a lot of the kids. And that's when I got my first kind of opportunity in front of the Chris Paul coaches to kind of show what I got. So I think that I went to that training camp that year. I thought I did good. I filmed another year. And then I did a training camp the next year. And then they asked me, hey, you want to coach?
Wow.
So my opportunity actually came from filming. And then I kind of worked myself in from training.
And this is 2018, 19, around
yeah, about 2018. About 2018, I started filming them. 2017, I was filming a little bit. 2019 is when I started coaching.
Right.
Yeah, right in about, I would say, about September range. I started coaching.
So how has that process been for you as far as coaching with all three? And are you still doing all three, filming, training, and coaching?
So I'm no longer doing elite mixtapes, meaning I'm not going out and covering players. I do still film, but only for like practice purposes, mm-hmm. or to help a player with shooting form or a workout video, something like that. So I'm still using those skills, just not for elite mixtape, just because I don't have the time. Not because we have fallen out or anything. I know that's the first thing a lot of people try to assume when you're no longer doing something. But me and my boy Bryce are still like this, know. But I would say that coaching made me a better trainer. Because it gave me an opportunity to see things from a different lens. As a player developer, you're primarily focused on how can I make this player better? How can I put some more moves in their bag? How can I get their shooting form better? But coaching gave me a different outlook on basketball because now I had to think about all the intangible things. So the things that don't happen with the ball, the things that have nothing to do with the ball at all, so communication, learning how to move without the ball, learning how to manage parents. That's a big thing in AAU, how do you deal with parents? How do you manage ego?
Did it help you coming from kind of already doing that with training to coaching a little bit?
Training is a little bit different only because training is number one optional, and training you can pay to participate. So if you pay for a training session, you can come and participate, no question. But for this team, CP3, it's a very elite national team. Right. So you can't pay to play on this team. Yes, you pay to play, but you can't pay to participate.
Right.
We have to like you. We have to think that you're good enough to actually play on this team. Then you can pay. So it was different because anybody can come to training, and there's no winning and losing when it's training. Most of the guys that work with me, 95% of them are going to get better. So it's really nothing there outside of just working with them. But on a team when you're coaching, it's more of managing egos, telling parents, being honest with parents, letting a parent know, hey, your kid might not get as much playing time as this kid, and things like that. So it helped me grow up when it came to dealing with confrontation, dealing with tough conversations, having to be transparent with people even when it's tough. Coaching definitely helped me with that, where I didn't have that aspect in training. So I would say that coaching added a lot to what I already had.
Right.
And I'm glad I made that decision because I was kind of resistant to it at first, but it definitely helped me as an overall basketball personnel. It definitely helped me. So.
It's funny to hear you say that because we see Steve Nash, a new coach for the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie, KD, and Dinwiddie and LeVert. But he's a player coach basically, and I heard him say he has to deal with not only watching the ball, because he would say, I'm Steve Nash, and I watch the game, I'm watching the ball like I was a point guard. Now I'm a coach, I gotta watch what number 5 is doing, what number 4 is doing, what number 3 is doing.
Wow.
So now he's breaking down film, and he's like, hold on, I'm a coach now. I'm not just watching the ball now.
Man, I would say, man, that I knew a lot about training, but when I started coaching, I definitely understood different things that I didn't understand with training. So that coaching was the best thing that could have happened to me as a trainer because it allowed me to focus on players' ability to fit within the team. Other than sometimes when you're training your guy to be a star player. How can I give you the best handles, the best shot, so you can get all the shots. But when you become a coach, you realize that okay, well maybe you only need to be good at one thing because your coach is going to use you in this one aspect.
Yeah.
So
and that when players learn their role, they get contracts.
Yes.
A lot of players actually play themselves out of a contract.
That is true.
Bro, you're not KD.
Yeah,
Stop trying to be KD.
That's not your role.
You play your role, you're gonna get an extension.
That is true, man. And just to kind of piggyback on that is, it goes back to what I was doing with Elite Mixtapes. I knew my role. I never wanted to be the owner of Elite Mixtapes. I always knew Bryce was the owner. I always knew that I was assisting him with his dream, but I also understood I had my own dream that I got to chase, So it allowed me to participate with Bryce, and be fully engaged in him, but it also allowed me to know that there's something else that I need to be striving for. And I think that sometimes people get locked in on one thing so much, they don't really realize that there's other things out there.
That's true.
So that's just kind of some advice for people growing up, don't box yourself in. You might be at a job, you might be working for somebody else, but always have your own dream aspirations in the back of your head because there's going to come a time where you might get fired, you might get laid off, or you just might not want to work anymore. And there's different opportunities out there for you if you're looking for them.
Right. And just to add on that, it's always okay to work with or for somebody.
It is.
Until you learn or until you feel like you're ready to take the leap on your own.
That's true.
with me working with you guys. Soak it up. Soak it up. All right, I'm ready to go on my own. Go on your own. It's because I think we do live in an age where it's like now it's entrepreneur, but we're not teaching them how to actually learn first too.
And
Like,
yeah, you definitely need a mentor. You know,
need a mentor,
you need a mentor because when I came to Sky Athletics, remember there's a small window between Sky Athletics and Skill Boost Academy, and that window is me getting trained by Derek Nix, the owner of the gym, teaching me about customer service, teaching me that the player is not the customer, that the parent is a customer. And coming from a training aspect, I just always thought, as long as I do good with this kid, he's gonna come back. Not realizing those things, the owner, Derek Nix, he helped me out a lot about customer service, teaching people, you know, teaching me how to treat people, teaching me, you know, who am I supposed to be catering to, you know, what not to do, what to do. And that's a big thing, man. So you definitely need a mentor. I would say in filming, I had Bryce, and even Bryce, he had mentors, you know, and Ty Kish, which is a middle school hoops TV, he actually named Elite Mixtapes. He came up with that name, and everybody know Ty and the middle school hoops camps are some of the biggest camps in the whole world, and that was his mentor. You know, so that is powerful. Everybody does need a mentor, somebody to model or at least learn from, you know, starting off.
Tough. All right, Dex. Hey, I appreciate you coming and joining me, man. I just want to ask you one last question, man.
Yes, sir.
What's next? What's next for Skill Boost? What's next for Dex? Like, what you got next?
I would say, man, the next thing for Skill Boost is just to continue build and to keep elaborating on what we've been doing. So we got a course that's coming out that everybody can go check out at skillboostacademy.com. We're also looking to build our own facility. So if anybody wants to make some donations, if anybody wants to reach out and become a partner of what we do, endorsements, anything like that, sponsorships, we're open to all of those things. But for the most part, man, I think that Skill Boost is headed in the right direction. I think it's the future of basketball. I think I got a lot of learning to still do, but I definitely have a lot that I can give back to the kids. And I think it's just the beginning of what we can really do and how many people that we can touch, man. So our next step is, you know, getting the course out so that people that are less fortunate or people that don't live local can still have access to training. And also, you know, create our own facility so we can put other people in position like Derek Nix put me in position, you know. And hopefully that when we get our facility, we run it different than other facilities and allow people to grow, you know, because I'm only one person. I'm Coach Dex. But it's probably 100 Coach Dexes out there just waiting for an opportunity, a guy to open up a gym so they can come in and work and show people their talents, you know. So that's kind of my thing, man. Somebody reached out to me and, you know, built me up and helped me get to where I'm at. And I think it's my obligation to do the same thing.
That's love. Hey, like I said, appreciate you joining Dex and
being
part of the first episode of discussion, man.
Cool, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Nick. Good luck with everything.
Appreciate it.